I'm sick of lumpy mashed potatoes, are you?
Yep.
Stop using one of these. We're gonna show you how professional chefs do it.
Yeah.
Potatoes, taters, spuds, mashers, chips. What's taters, precious?
Potatoes.
You can chop them, mash them, stick them in a stew, make golden, delicious chips with them. In this episode, we're gonna mash these potatoes. Now, Xander is playing with the potato masher that we all know and some of us love from our childhood. Mom used to mash potatoes with that until they were quote unquote smooth, but they're always lumpy, right? So professional chefs do not use the potato masher. They actually use what's called a ricer. Now, the ricer here looks something like this. This is a personal ricer. You can also use a food mill, but we don't have one of those here at home. It has cutouts in the bottom there. It has a little pusher and a handle. So this will make the creamiest, smoothest, most professional looking and tasting mashed potatoes. And we're gonna show you how to do it with 8 or less ingredients. Now we have in front of us a yellow potato. See, here you go, feel it. These are smallish, small to medium yellow potatoes. There are all sorts of potatoes out there. Everything from a sweet potato, a yellow potato, which is a Yukon Gold potato, a russet, a red skin potato, purple potatoes, new potatoes, tiny potatoes, big potatoes. But today we're choosing to use the yellow potato or Yukon Gold potato because it is what's known as a waxy potato. This has a lower starch content than a russet, which makes the final product creamy instead of fluffy. We like creamy potatoes. A lot of us grew up with moms and grandmas and dads making mashed potatoes, either from potato flakes or russet potatoes. And those typically would be a little bit more mealy in the mouth. And I don't particularly care for them. Again, professional chefs use the best ingredients that we can to make the best quality product. So today we're choosing a waxy potato. Other potatoes that you can use in that category are red skin potatoes. You can make them with purple, but they look a little bit funky. The russet potatoes have more uses for like making French fries or pasta, which we'll make in another video here soon enough. Can't wait to make that with you. But again, today we're going to use the yellow potato. Just a couple of bucks for a 5-pound bag. And in this recipe, we're going to be using, again, 8 or less ingredients depending upon your choice. So we have salt, the potatoes themselves, butter. We use only salted butter in our house, and professional chefs also only use salted butter. We'll get into the weeds on that in another episode, and I can't wait to talk about that with you as to why you really shouldn't use unsalted butter. We're also going to use garlic, thyme, and bay leaves. These 3 are the optional ingredients. And then there's heavy cream and water. Now the water will be used to actually just boil the potatoes. We use cream instead of milk because of the fat content. Again, to make a very creamy mashed potato, we want as much fat as possible in these. Nothing healthy about what we're about to do here, but you know what? Fat is flavor in our world, and we cannot stress how important it is to use cream over even full fat milk. So Xander and I are going to get into the kitchen here. You're going to have a chef's eye view of what we're about to do. We're going to go through the instructions. And if you stick around to the end of the video, we're going to pop up a recipe that we're using here that we'll go through. And again, you can screenshot that for your own use. We're going to use this set of mashed potatoes for some roast beef that we've actually got in the oven right now. But these mashed potatoes are great for Easter coming up here to go along with your ham. And the same recipe will be used in our household for Thanksgiving when the time comes too. So we're going to go wash our hands because that's super important. We're going to go secure our cutting board. We're going to go over our equipment list, and then we're going to get after it. So for this recipe, we'll need our chef knife and our little chef knife. Right, Xander?
Yes.
Then we'll need a vegetable peeler. We choose a Y-shaped vegetable peeler. Brand is Kuhn & Kohn, made in Switzerland. This is the one that fits our hand the best. It is hollow, so it doesn't weigh anything. It has an eye remover for the potato too, any brown spots. That'll take it out, and it doesn't cost hardly anything. We'll need a mixing spoon We use wooden spoons at home as much as we can to avoid using plastic, especially heating it up. Silicone high heat spatula. Stainless steel bowl just for our waste and our peelings. A colander or a strainer. You can use a slotted spoon if you'd rather. We use a colander, old school. Mom used to call those a sculabasta in Italian because that was Mom's thing. And we'll also need the ricer, as we discussed earlier. This is the tool that makes the magic happen versus the masher that moms and grandmas used to use that made the potatoes a little bit lumpy. Finally, we'll need a stock pot or a cast iron pan or whatever you may have at home that'll fit the amount of potatoes that you're looking to cook. Now that we have our ingredient list and our equipment list, that is our mise en place, which means everything in place. The three most important French words that we'll learn in the kitchen. Mise en place, things in place. So once we have all of our equipment, all of our ingredients, then we are ready to rock and roll. So first and foremost, we're going to take our pot that we're going to cook in. We're using a cast iron Dutch oven that can handle up to a gallon or 4 quarts. We're going to take and we're going to add our water to it, because as we are peeling our potatoes, we run the risk of them turning brown and oxidizing. So that is 8 cups of just regular water. Now we're going to move that off to the side. So as we cut our potatoes, we can add them into the water so that way they don't brown. Then we're going to take our waste bowl here for our peels. You can leave the peels on the mashed potatoes, but that'll give it a more rustic approach and feel. It will also gum up our ricer. So if you're going to use the peels, we suggest using a food mill. We don't have one in our kitchen here at home, so we're going to just use our ricer, but we're going to take all of the peels off. Now, we've got a peeled potato. I'm going to move this out of the way so that way I can show you really quick how to cut the potato. Taking our chef knife, finger, thumb, C-grip on our potato. In this case, we're going to just large dice these. So we're going to just cut our thing in half. Again, C-grip there. And cut our potato in half. Then we're going to cut it in half one more time. Each side. Turn it. And we're going to just cut it right like that. So we've got all uniform pieces about yay big. Now this is a very rough, large dice. Move my knife off the board. Take our potatoes and we're going to throw them in the water. So we're going to get moving on this. Ready? Set. Away we go. Great job, dude. Okay, now you got a little bit of starch on your hands from your potatoes, so if you want to go rinse, I'm going to go ahead and do this here. So, bonus material here. We've got a couple of potatoes. Now I talked about the de-eye or the eye gouger, as we call it in the kitchen. So we've got little bits here that we missed with our peeler. Sometimes it's divots, sometimes it's where the potato will actually start to sprout, which is called an eye on a potato. So you take that piece right here on our peeler. Sometimes it's on the front if you have a different type of peeler that looks a little bit like this. We've got the old school peeler here. This one's an OXO, nothing wrong with it. This one's just a different shape, you can see clearly. This one's a Y peeler. This one's a because peeler. So this one has that scoop on the front, does the same thing as this piece right here. I like this one because it fits better in my hand. It is lighter weight because it's hollow. This one's got some grippies on it. They do the same thing. Personal preference. So just to show you what that does, there's the eye on that potato where that would sprout if we were to put it in the ground. You take that and you just scoop that out. Little piece there that we can just throw in our scrap bowl. All right, so now we've got our potatoes floating in our water there. You can see that they're all completely covered. This is about 8 cups of water, which is about half a gallon. So now we're going to add salt to that water. This is a perfect time to season throughout, inside and out of those potatoes. You can add more salt when you go to actually mash your potatoes and mix in the cream. But right now we do an initial salt. So we're gonna add enough salt to make this water taste like the ocean. Now, if you've ever tasted ocean water, it is pretty salty. So that right there is probably about, I don't know, 3 to 4 tablespoons of kosher salt. Now that that's in there, we're gonna go put that on high heat. We're using a gas stove. I like gas because it gives me the most control, and that is what I have in my house when we bought it. So you can use electric or induction, whichever you want, or whatever you have. Doesn't make any difference to us. But as long as it comes up to a boil, that is important. Now, while those potatoes are on the boil, we're gonna take our garlic, again, optional for this recipe, but this is what we're doing here. We've taken it off the head, so just 2 nice sized cloves of garlic, but it's still got the paper husk on them. For this, they don't need to be any way, shape, or form, except for taking the skin off. So we're gonna take the palm and the heel of our hand. We're just gonna push down until you hear it pop, and that'll loosen the skin up. And we're gonna take that peel off. There we go. Now we have a cleaned up clove. We're gonna take our chef knife, and we're gonna take that root end, and we're just gonna take that off. Boom, that's it. Now Xander gets a turn. You take your clove, you're gonna use all your muscles, buddy. Push down. All right, you gave it your best shot. Okay, ready?
Okay, left them dance.
Dad's turn, ready? Boom, there it is. Okay, so we're gonna take that. Now this one's completely smashed, totally fine, because we're just going to steep it in our cream here. So take that bit off, throw our paper away, and take that little bit of root end there, get rid of that. And now we've got our 2 cloves of garlic prepped and ready to go. Take our butter, unfurl that. There we go. We've got our stick of butter, and a stick of butter, Xander, is 8 tablespoons, roughly about a half cup. All right, so now that we have our potatoes on the high heat, getting ready to boil, we are going to start up the cream mixture that we're going to steep our hard herbs and our garlic into, and then that will be added to our riced potatoes to add all of the fat and flavor. So we're going to take a small pot. In this case, it's about a 4-cup sauce pot. You can do this in the microwave too if you don't want to dirty up a pan. This way I like it because I have more control. So we're going to take that little saucepan and kick the heat on. We're going to take our full stick of butter. Again, that's about a half a cup there. We're going to add our 1.25 cups of cream. Again, you can use more if you want a looser mashed potato. You can use less if you want a stiffer mashed potato. Whichever it is that you'd like. This recipe is using, again, about a 1.25 cups for the amount of potatoes that we have. Whoops. Chefs make messes. It's part of life. I'll clean that up later. So we're going to take our 2 cloves of garlic that we took the skins off of earlier, our bay leaf, and our sprigs of thyme. Now we're going to kick this down a little bit, down to about a medium heat, so that way we don't scorch the cream. That is a flavor that you cannot come back from. You have to start over again. So we're going to take our silicone spatula, and we're just going to stir that around just a touch. And that is going to just melt the butter. It's going to come up to a simmer, which is a small bubble, right? It's below a boil. Once that comes up to a simmer, the butter's completely melted. Then we're going to take that off the heat and let it sit. And as the herbs and the seasonings sit inside of that cream mixture, that's what's called steeping. So we're pulling as much of the flavor out into the cream and butter as possible. Fat is a carrier of flavor, so that will hold on to those flavors from the bay leaf, the thyme, and the garlic, and transfer them into our potatoes. So here, we're gonna let it simmer for just a second. That heat's gonna help pull all that flavor out of the ingredients in there. We're gonna turn it off. We're just gonna let it sit. And that'll slowly cool down, but it'll still stay warm. We need this to be warm when it goes into our potatoes so that way it completely incorporates. The potatoes have boiled for about 15 minutes on a high rolling boil, and this is the sound that makes chefs really happy. So now we're going to take the potatoes, and just to double check that they're ready, we'll take these because they're so hot. We're going to take the back of our spoon. We're just going to smash one against the side of our pot here. And if it mashes, which this one does, that means they're ready. You can also stick a fork or a knife in them. If you're brave enough or have dead enough hands like I do, you can pick them up out of the water and push them with your fingers. So now we're going to move to the sink and we're going to strain them. All right, so now that we're at the sink, we've got our colander in the sink here. We've got our boiled mashed potatoes. You can see I'm using just a kitchen towel. You can use oven mitts or whatnot if you would like. Chefs typically use just towels. We're gonna take it, we're gonna pour off all of that water, making sure that we're standing away from that with our head out of the way, because that steam will catch it really, really quickly. Pour those all off into our strainer to get all the water out. Now, we're gonna use this pan here to mash our stuff back into, because it's gonna keep heat, and it's using one less dish. So I'm gonna just strain off the rest of the potato bits that we want to keep. I'm gonna shake this out here. And we're gonna move relatively quick while these are staying hot. We're gonna move them onto our cutting board. If you want, you can put a bowl or a plate underneath this. I'm just gonna move to the cutting board here. All right, now that we've moved on to our cutting board, we've got our wooden spoon and we have our ricer. So I'm gonna open up this ricer here into our pot. We're gonna move that just out of our way there. We're gonna take a scoop of our potatoes. This is kind of an arduous process, but it's worth it. I'm gonna do it one little bit at a time, okay? So once the potatoes are in that hopper, we're gonna push down. Now I'm gonna turn this to the side so that way you can see it come out. Usually you're just gonna do it this way, but for the sake of TV, push that out. And that is ricing. It's like playing with Play-Doh. Little tiny bits right there, all the way through. That is the size of rice grains. So I'm gonna move that back up. See, that's pretty much clear. We missed a few little peels here, no big deal. We're gonna keep doing it until we're all the way through. Ready, Xander?
Yep.
Good job, bud. Now you're gonna see a little bit of mashed potato kind of pile up here. As long as it doesn't put big chunks back in, we're all good. So I'm gonna finish this up real quick here. I'm gonna do the last one here. Now, if we would have waited for these to cool down, all of the starch that was in the potato would have started to turn kind of gummy, and these potatoes would stiffen up and they would not fluff up really nice. So we want to make sure that we're moving quick and working with warm to hot potatoes. So we're gonna clear this off our board, put that in the sink to wash for later. Doing dishes is a huge part of what we do as a chef. So we're gonna grab that cream mixture that has our bay leaf, our garlic, and our thyme in there. Again, it's about 1.25 cups of that cream. We're gonna take that strainer that we had earlier. We're gonna just strain off all that liquid into our potatoes. We're gonna reserve just a little bit, just in case we want them a little bit looser. And we're gonna take our silicone spatula, and we're gonna slowly mix that in. And it'll start to tighten up a little bit as that cream gets all throughout our whipped potatoes here. Now again, depending upon how big your 12 potatoes were, depending upon how loose or tight you want them, you can add a little bit more of that liquid. So all total, this probably took about a cup of cream or just a little bit less. Now, these will continue to set up as they cool. So we're going to add a little bit of cream to them later if we want them to reheat. That right there is our whipped mashed potato. Now we're going to taste test to see if it needs any more salt. If you don't eat all of these in one go, you can put them into a Tupperware container. We prefer glass with a lid. Make sure that they're cool before they go into the fridge with the lid. And then tomorrow, when you want to reheat them, you can save a little bit of that cream mixture, add that back to it when you reheat it, and it's going to reconstitute this to be exactly as these are here. Okay? Xander, we forgot one of the most important tools in a chef's kit. And what is that?
The tasting spoons.
The tasting spoons. A good chef tastes everything they do, making sure that it is well seasoned, that the texture's good, and that it's ready to serve. I got my scoop. Go ahead. Cheers. What do you think, bud?
Delicioso.
Delicioso. That means delicious. So that is the most creamy, well seasoned bit of mashed potatoes that you're going to have. Perfect for pot roast, perfect for Easter dinner, perfect for Thanksgiving turkey and gravy, right?
Yes.
I think so. So the recipe will pop up here shortly for you, and you can screen grab that. We're going to go enjoy this with our pot roast for dinner tonight. If you want to see more, go ahead and like and subscribe. Thanks again for joining us, and we cannot wait to share more with you in the next videos. Till then, we'll see you.